Hey, a-hole, over here. Let's do this, bitch.
Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone's doing well out there. We're on to the fight of the century, the one horror fans were waiting for ever since '93 when Freddy's glove came out of the dirt and dragged Jason's hockey mask down to hell. Freddy versus Jason. Yes. Now, this film had been kicked around for a very long time, since the 80s when Paramount still held all the rights to the Friday the 13th franchise. They talked about doing this around 86, 87. Never could get it to work, and then finally Sean Cunningham got the rights back after the disaster that was Jason Takes Manhattan. He went to New Line and made Jason Goes to Hell. We saw that iconic final moment where Freddy's claw came out of the dirt and dragged Jason's hockey mask down to hell, and that started the excitement for we're finally going to see Freddy versus Jason. Although it took a decade still to be able to see this film. 17 scripts later, that's right, 17 scripts were commissioned for this film until finally they got one that made sense to make the film. Many directors came and went. They wanted Rob Bottin to direct this film. Matter of fact, it was announced he was going to direct this film. The great Rob Bottin, who did the makeup effects in The Howling, The Thing, RoboCop, Total Recall. He was going to do it. He dropped out. Other directors, as a matter of fact, Rob Zombie, they offered it to Rob Zombie as his first feature film, but he declined and went off to make A House of a Thousand Corpses. Finally, they settled on a director that I know was definitely out of the box thinking at the time, still is if you think about it, because he was a Hong Kong director. He had done Bride of Chucky in the late 90s for Universal, but he was definitely somebody that nobody expected. Ronnie Yu came on to direct this film. And cast-wise, we have Robert Englund back as Freddy. This is his last performance as Freddy Krueger. We had Ken Kurtzinger as Jason. This was the most controversial casting of this film because everybody assumed and wanted Kane Hodder in this role. I mean, Ken Kurtzinger was in Jason Takes Manhattan. He played Jason in a scene, and he was in the movie as that cook that gets tossed by Jason. I'm not big on his portrayal of Jason. It's okay. It's definitely down on my list of portrayals as Jason. I think C.J. Graham's way better. Ted White's certainly better. Kane Hodder's better. Richard Brooker's better. He's okay. I mean, he's 6'5". He's a big hulking dude. I just don't love his portrayal here. It's okay. Monica Keenan plays Laurie. She's our main final girl. She was hot off of Dawson's Creek at the time. Jason Ritter, the son of the late, great John Ritter, plays Will, Laurie's boyfriend, which he's been MIA for the last few years. Catherine Isabella, who I love as an actress. She was in Ginger Snaps, which is a fantastic werewolf film with a little bit of different twist to it. And a great film called American Mary about body modification. If you've never seen that one, check it out. She plays Gib in the film. And Kelly Rowland from Destiny Child fame plays Kia. And Kia, Gib, and Laurie are all friends in this film, in this universe. And right at the beginning of the film, we hear this voiceover by Freddy about how the children of Springwood have forgotten about him. He has no power. And his whole plan is to con Jason to go to Springwood, resurrect Jason, fool him by portraying his mother. They actually offered the role to Betsy Palmer to come back, and she turned them down. And he cons Jason to go into Springwood to frighten the children so he can get his power back and start wreaking havoc on the children of Springwood. And Jason, as a big dummy in this film, takes off for Springwood. We're introduced to Laurie in the beginning of this film, and her mother was killed a couple years earlier, and nobody knows what happened. And in the beginning of the film, she's at her house with Kia and Gib, and Gib's boyfriend shows up, who's a complete scumbag and an asshole. I don't know why she'd even be with him, but she has her own issues. Alcoholic, apparently. And Jason shows up and kills her boyfriend in spectacular fashion. He kind of deserves it anyway. He's a dick, definitely. And that starts our film. And Laurie's at the police station. They're trying to give their statements. And she hears one of the cops mention a Freddy Krueger. Now, Freddy had really nothing to do with this other than conning Jason and going to Springwood to terrorize the children. And she has a quick little dream sequence at the police station. And Freddy's starting to regain his power. And that's pretty much the crux of the film. Freddy uses Jason to get his power back of fear so he can start wreaking havoc again, which he does. Jason continues to kill the kids at Springwood. We get this rave scene in a cornfield that is pretty cool, although I would say the sequence should have went on longer. I think it would have been more badass if it went on longer. Watching it again, it's very quick this scene for how cool. There's some cool imagery for sure, but it's over way too quickly. They should show Jason wreaking even more havoc, and they don't. And then Laurie will, because Will is in Weston Hills, the psychiatric hospital from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. Hypnosil's involved in this film, so they do call back to those two things from the series, Nightmare on Elm Street series, which is pretty cool. Here, a couple years when Laurie's mom got killed, Will thought her dad did it. Well, her dad consults at Weston Hills. Now, her dad didn't do it, as we find out later. Freddy actually killed her mother. And Will's been there ever since with his one friend. And they break out because he hears about this murder at Laurie's house. And he finds Laurie. So now, Laurie, Kia, Gibb gets killed at the cornfield rave. And this police officer who's new to town team together to figure out what the hell is going on. They go to Weston Hills to get this hypnosil so they stop having dreams, so they can figure out what to do about Freddy. The police officer gets killed. One Freeberg gets killed. In a pretty cool scene though, because Freddy possesses him, uses tranquilizers to knock Jason out, and Jason cuts him in half in a really cool scene. And then their plan is to take Jason back to Camp Crystal Lake. Laurie's going to pull Freddy into the real world, and they're going to have a battle royale, and hopefully Jason can kick Freddy's ass. And they succeed in this. They get Jason back to Crystal Lake, even though Springwood's in Ohio and Crystal Lake's in New Jersey. But reasons and plot devices, they make it back to Crystal Lake in a fairly quickly amount of time. And finally, Laurie brings Freddy into the real world, and the last 10 minutes of the film is a battle royale, WWF style or WWE style fight between the two titans of horror, which is pretty damn entertaining. This is what we were waiting for, and it's a pretty damn good fight. It's a balls out fight, and at the end, nobody really wins, as we all know. Freddy's head gets cut off by Laurie, and at the end we see Jason walking out of the lake holding Freddy's head, and his eye turns to the camera, winks, and he laughs manically, and that's the end of Freddy vs. Jason. The positives of this film are the battle at the end, for sure. I don't mind the story, even though there's a lot of plot contrivances to get us to where we need to go. Some of the acting's pretty good. Some of the acting is not the greatest. Monica Keenan is a decent actress. I think she's too whiny through most of the film until finally the last 10 minutes where she grows a backbone and decides to fight back. Jason Ritter seems a little bit confused of why he might be in this film. Some scenes he's pretty good, and other scenes he seems like he doesn't want to be there. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Some of the other actors down the line are pretty good. Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child is okay for a singer turned actress. She's not the worst thing in the film for sure, and Catherine Isabella is really good. I just wish she had more to do. She's not in the film a whole lot, and she's definitely the best actress here, probably the best actor here. And she doesn't have a whole lot to do besides have this sex scene, which we don't see anything if that's what you're worried about. And then she's, sad, and then she gets killed. Other than that, she doesn't have a whole lot to do, and she's definitely the best actor here. But overall, this is a fun film. I'm not crazy about Jason. We don't get to see him without the hockey mask on. I think he looks okay. Again, Ken Kurtzinger's portrayal is not my favorite. It's definitely down the list for me. I think Kane Hodder would have been a better fit for this film. Why they decided to go in a different direction, I have no idea. Because Kane Hodder had been loyal to this franchise for so long. And he's always been a very effective Jason. He's not even my favorite, but I always appreciate his portrayal here. Robert Englund's great, although I'm not a huge fan of his pointy nose, his pointy witch nose here. I think some of the makeups earlier in the series were better than this one, but it's good. There's definitely lots of blood spurting everywhere unnaturally. It's more like a comic book film, this film. But it's definitely a fun time. There's some bad CGI with the worm smoking weed with Freeberg, for sure. But overall, I do like this film. I had a blast when I saw it back in 2003. I still have a blast with it now. It's a kick-ass soundtrack, which I own the CD. I have the CD somewhere in the house. After this film came out and a success, they talked about having a Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash film. They never could get that made because of Sam Raimi. They couldn't figure that out. And they were going to make a sequel, and they never made a sequel, which I don't know why, because this was a huge hit. It had a $30 million budget, and it made 82 in America and 116 worldwide, but they never made it, folks. And we got the remake or reboot of Friday the 13th in 2009, and we got the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street which I know a lot of people don't like. But overall, this is still a fun film. I have my issues with it, but it's still a fun horror matchup. And I would give Freddy vs. Jason a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's just on its face value, it's a fun flick to sit down, turn your brain off, and watch two of our favorite horror icons battle it out. And I think it succeeds in that. I still don't think Ronnie Yu he pulls off some nice shots for sure. I still don't think he was the right director for this, but overall, it's still a fun time. 7.5 out of 10 for Freddy vs. Jason. What are your thoughts on this horror matchup? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back next week with Friday 13th, 2009, which I don't think is as bad as some people think it is. And some other horror films. I'm going to do Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2, Halloween 2018, John Carpenter's original Halloween leading up to Halloween Kills, which I can't wait for that. But until then, have a great weekend. Bye.